And then a lot of the other things in the next two sentences, really what I wanted to focus on was just making everything as active as I could. The difference between as a reluctant participant and just being reluctant. You know, it's like a little shift, but it makes a huge difference in terms of, you know, this sort of idea of what they are and just what the heck they are. And the same thing in the last paragraph, even just like little things, the difference between as Lois researches Joanna's past, changing it to Lois's work. And I also wanted to move the idea of the reveal up closer to the beginning of the sentence so that we don't have this little thing that says, as something is revealed. The work reveals this unexpected, inadvertent, tragic, horrible thing, and everything is changed. It's just a little bit more direct. And so, in a way, aside from that the first sentence, which was a huge shift in terms of the point of view of the synopsis, the other two sentences, even though the shifts were small, I think they were really significant in making a piece that, if you look at the first synopsis, sounds rather dry and almost textbooky, and like it's a series of interviews, and turning it into a real active struggle. So that's basically what we did with that one.
Thank you, that's great.
I think this is a fabulous
really
example that has
right?
all the thing, because exactly what you say, it's active, it identifies the character who holds the main dramatic action, it has reversals, it brings in suspense, it has an emotional quality, I mean it has the germ, it has the drop, and then it gives you the kind of essence of like what really the overall action is. I mean this is an excellent example.
It's great. And also I think it's really useful to look at the very first one. That last paragraph is like all those kinds of traps that at least I feel like I always fall into when I try to talk about my own work, which is I start talking like on this plane that's just up here, and so about all these ideas that it gets in the way of the sort of active motion of what the hell is going on in the piece, which is what people are really interested in, I think. Let's look at something very, very different now, Groundhog Day. We know the movie, I mean many of us probably know the film, right? Nancy, take us through what we've got here.
This was actually allowed to be presented here by Jack Letchner and Lawrence Goldberg, who worked on it as part of their second year at the BMI workshop. And that's the year when people stop doing assignments and actually bring in a project of their own and begin developing it. And I think it was the late Phil Smith of the Schubert organization who said that a musical is like a freight train. It's easy to get on and it's not so easy to get off. So what we look for in this kind of thing is the ability of the collaborators to actually pull off what they're taking on. And in the beginning, you can see in the first chapter, I'm going to be speaking the first paragraph, I'm going to skip around a little bit, but you get the sort of journalistic who, what, when, and where of the show. But then very quickly in the second paragraph, you get into why we care, which is that it's a guy who's a fish out of water, and it's going to be a redemption story. So you go, oh, okay, so now now I know why I care. And one of the things that they do, I won't go through this whole unwieldy plot for you, but they do it very well. But one of the things they do is in the tone of the synopsis matches the tone of the show. You know the kind of droll comedy that you're going to get. You know it's going to be slightly skewed, slightly what they would call screwball, somewhat romantic, but all the while there's something very serious at the bottom of it, and they keep reverting to that. Mm-hmm. And you notice that they don't withhold the ending. You get to the ending with this, because again, it's a question of can you do it? Can't you do it? Do you know what you're doing? And I'm sure that if you had the CD, if they had ever actually finished this, which they didn't because of rights problems, I believe, but if they had continued with it, you would have seen that some of these phrases and things in the paragraphs would track nicely with the demo of the music. You know, there would be a song called something like "No Consequences" or "Tomorrow Rolls Around Again." You use those phrases because something that we were talking about before is that when a reader for a festival or a producer gets a musical, they go, "Oh no, now I'm going to be working on something for 2 hours instead of an hour," because you have to sit down and listen to the music in real time. And this may not seem like a big deal to you if you've been writing the thing. You really want your songs to be heard, but it is a big deal to the reader who has that pile of 2,000 scripts to get through. So you want to make it as clear and as easy for them as possible to link together your demo music with what they see in the synopsis and what they have read in the script. So anything you can do to help.
So does that mean that if you're submitting, let's say, a CD of 6 songs from your musical, that you want your synopsis to reference those songs so that people are able to contextualize the
Not
song?
necessarily by title, because sometimes, very often, in fact, songs get taken out, songs get changed. But if your synopsis is chronological, you want the songs to be in the same chronology. If you talk about the boy in your synopsis, you don't want to suddenly start talking about Tony, on your CD label, that sort of thing. So just be careful. Again, it's all details, but it's all part of people writing the same show.
There's also something you pointed out to me in the last part, which I'm not sure if this is a pitch, the last thing we have on Groundhog Day, about our show, but you pointed out, I thought it was interesting that they actually talk a little bit about stagecraft. Is that where they do it?
Yeah, a little bit about how about suggesting that it be done on a revolve.
Which some people would shy away from or be afraid of doing. I know a lot of playwrights, we worry about, we don't want to have too much stage direction,
It's a judgment call, and again, you have to know who you're sending it to. Some directors would dig in their heels and say, well, I'm not going to do that. And other directors would say, well, I see how you want me to do that, but I don't care. That's not how I'm going to do it. And that's fine too. Just it depends on their attitude toward that kind of thing. And it's an easy enough thing to leave out, but it's also reassuring that you've thought it out. It is stageable, because the first thing I thought when I got this, to review and to comment on to the writers was, I thought, oh my God, Groundhog Day? How do you stage that? And they're like, oh, okay, that's one way you could do it.
Great. Let's take a look at example 4. Jeni, you want to take us through this a little?
Yeah. This is for In the Sawtooths by Dan O'Madden. And this one, I actually think this one is a good example of trying to create a synopsis that speaks to sort of the germ of the play through the action of the play, but without getting too distracted by the plot. And I think a lot of what we had in the beginning of this process working on this was the first draft that Dano had sent me. All this information about these 3 guys, Obie, Nellie, and Darren. They've been friends since high school. They've grown older, busier, but they love backpacking. So I look at that sentence and I say to myself, well, what's the most important thing I need to know about these 3 guys? And in this particular play, the most important thing I need to know is that they love backpacking. The fact that they've been friends since high school has absolutely no context for me, because I don't know how old they are now. And everybody grows busier as they grow older, so I think we'll just assume that. So it's kind of like, there's some of these things I can get rid of. I don't need to know them in order to understand the play. I also don't need to know that they like to backpack in the mountains, because if I look at the title of the play, In the Sawtooths, those are mountains, so I'm putting it together. So it's really just about like what's important. So I just changed it to avid backpackers, Obie, Nellie, and Darren. That's, the whole first 2 sentences.